Okay, today we are going to create this thumbnail where for a video where I taught people how to achieve this effect for this image in DAZ Studio. And I told you in this other video, or I said in this other video, that you don't need any post work because it already looks pretty good, but there are still some things that you can do that will make the image even better. Now, let's start with making the thumbnail. At first, we have to do some post work on this one. So here we had a bit of a spotlight that was still visible in the final render. Doesn't matter, it's fixed now. Okay, now the next thing that we want to do is we want to change the colors a little, and we want to make the bright areas brighter and the dark areas I want to keep them similar. So what do? We we go to the levels curve and we bring the outer slider way in because you can see the bright areas, they don't look washed out or anything, or they are already a bit washed out in this kind of style. Now, what you did see, what you also saw is that the dark areas became brighter. Now, that might be an effect that you're going for, but I want to keep them a little darker. So I'm going to ever so slightly tilt this middle slider to the right. Now we can see the before and after. We have the light areas pop a little more, so that's pretty good. Now what we can do, maybe I overdid it, and we want to go a bit dark, a bit lighter. So 0.85 sounds reasonable. Okay, before and after, I think that's pretty good. Now what we can try is we can duplicate the layer, we can see what overlay does for us, and it does nothing good. We can maybe create another layer and see if overlay, and then we draw our mask ourselves. And maybe that does something good. So I want to just lighten some of the areas. So that seems reasonable. Not too bad. Maybe you get a better effect if you still use the colors tab or the level sliders, but I'm pretty happy with that. I want to keep the right side pretty dark, and I want to have the left side pop a little more. Now, before and after, that's good enough. So we make sure that this is only one thing. Now, I already imported all the other images that we are going to use for the thumbnail, so we can delete or actually delete the one that we have here. And now we can copy this layer to the other image that we have, and we want to put it to a new layer. Now we still have the problem that the background is pretty dark and that the background is an actual color, not transparent. Now here there's a very easy workaround to not cut around the girl. We can either delete the parts that we don't want the other want to obstruct, or we can say that the layer should only lighten the image. So what's going to happen if we drag it over our other background, the light background, we see that it only lightens the colors. So that's pretty neat. And I don't want them to intersect much at all, so that's not a problem. Now I don't want to go maybe I want. I'm still not sure about the composition. I probably have to downscale this one image, this other one image, because this is secondary. Now I want to have here this something. Maybe that. I think this is reasonable, or this reasonably large. Now I still have to add some text. And the text should read easier than you think, and then I want to have this DAZ Studio logo in the bottom. So that's pretty neat. Now I think it's pretty good that we have one large girl, and the other girl is a bit smaller than the and we have Esther, which is a little smaller. Now we can go back. Then we have to be careful now that we have a lighten only the option that the layer only lightens the background on. We have to be careful with that, because if I drag Esther too much to the right, you can see here on the boobs that it doesn't work very well. And we already have a problem with the hand. Now, how do we fix the problem with the hand? We could maybe do something more complicated, but I'm just going to use my eraser and I'm going to erase the background here a little. Now, let's go a little down and make sure here the hand we don't see all this nasty stuff. Now the good thing about creating thumbnails is that you don't have to pay too much attention to detail, because you know that the thumbnail is going to be viewed in a much smaller size than you are creating them in. Very few people have 4K monitor, and even if they have that, it's still going to be reduced in size probably. On the phone, you don't even need to start when we talk about the phone. If you watch YouTube on the phone, or if you watch this video on the phone, the thumbnail was probably 800 pixels, something like that at most. And I'm creating the thumbnail at 1920, so I can be a bit rough, a bit more rough with things. Now let's, maybe I want to downscale this one because it's a bit big. We have this, and we want to make sure that you can read it. How do we... I want it smaller. Even smaller, so okay. How can you make sure that you can read it? You want to select this one, and you want to invert the selection. Now, where do we have it? Invert, right there. Now you can create a path from a selection, and I want to draw something around all of it so it pops from a background. Now let's create a layer which is very empty, and we want to... the selection is pretty shitty. Here you see that there is this the edge of a layer still in it, and if we look at the other path, it only surrounds the logo and the DAS 3D. Okay, now what we want to do is we can deselect. We select none, and we want to write on this empty layer. Now what do we want to do? We want to have... what color do we want to work with? Pink. I like pink. I use pink quite often because of the nature of my games. Now I want pencil, and I want to have the size of a pencil at 7, and what we are going to do is we're going to draw along this path that we've selected. Now we have here the paintbrush selected, we want the pencil. Now do the stroke, and if we put it underneath our layer, now we have this this pinkish surroundings. It doesn't look that great. Maybe if we play around with the colors a little. Use saturation, this should be the right one. Now if we go down with darkness, we go down with... am I on the right layer here? Yes, I'm on the right layer. Okay, let's make it more purple. And I think this sound looks good. We can increase the lightness. Yeah, the brightness. Lightness, they call it lightness here. Okay, now, yeah, that's better. It's still not perfect, but it's better. Okay, now the next thing that we want to do is we want to add some text, and we want the text to be, maybe we want to make it pink. I've never done that. Maybe it works. Okay, the text should be easier than you think. And we want to make this one like that, and we want to increase the size of that. And maybe that's too much, easier than you think. Let's place it right here. I think that's good. Or we have to go a bit upward. Easier than you think. I don't really want to go into the model here. Now, is there an effect that we can use that makes it better? And yes, there is an effect that we could use that makes it better. We can do something similar that we did earlier. So this might be a bit advanced, and I've never done it before, so this could backfire a lot. Easier than you think. Is this how I want to have it? Yes, I want it that way. Okay. Now we want to create another path, and we want to first do this, have invert the selection. We want to create a path from the selection. Now we can draw around this the selected path, the path, and we want to have yeah, we want to select none. We want to 7 might be the right thing. Let's go to 6. We have to try a bit on this one. So let's make sure that we have pencil selected, that we adjusted the settings for. Now let's do the stroke. You see it's thicker. Now maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I want a darker color. Something like that. And let's do the stroke again. No, at first we want to have another layer to do the stroke on. Okay, now let's do this stroke. Now we have a darker surrounding for the text. Yeah, for the text. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to go in with the I could. This doesn't seem right. This seems absolutely horrible. Okay, let's get rid of what I did just there and the delete layer mask. And we create our own layer mask maybe. Or we just use this tool here. Now we want to go down and set in visibility, and we want to delete everything that's the entire K here. And we want to delete parts of her boob. And yeah, now if we go up with opacity, we should have gone with hard edges, because I want everything that's overlaid over the model. I want to only have this outline, this you know what I mean. I only want this out thing selected. Okay. Now I need to go down, deselect the hard edges, make this one smoother. Okay, what I'm trying to do is I want to make it pop more. Now I did a big mistake. I had it blurred too much. So if we want to double this layer and we want to use our filter, our blur filter, we don't want it to be a big blur. We want it to be a smaller blur. So maybe this, and then we want to have exposure of this layer up. Easier than you think. It doesn't look great. I'm not sure why it looks so awful in my eyes. Now maybe I want to have a completely different color here. Saturation. Yeah, okay, reset the values, have it light as hell, and make it something like this. This looks good. Easier than you think. It looks, doesn't look great. Maybe if we go to 50% here and we don't erase something, but we bring something. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. We bring something back. Still not what I wanted to do. Ah, oh, this is awful. Awful. It's not what I want because these letters here, they don't look right yet. So maybe we have to add a drop shadow to all of it. Maybe that would solve it. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to make this all one layer. Then I want to have a filter. I want to have an light and shadow filter, drop shadow. Do I want a black drop shadow? I want especially a 0 here. Opacity higher. So preview, you can see a bit of a difference. That's not really what I'm going for. It's not that good. It makes the entire thing seem blurry. So maybe if we take a white drop shadow, that would make it better, easier than you think. It doesn't make it much better. It makes it a little better. The readability of the text. This can work. Yes, this works. This works. I can read it. Easier than you think. And okay, now we are going to look at the thumbnail from further away. And you can't read it very well, but I don't want to do it again, so this is going to be the thumbnail. So that's it. I hope you had a bit of an educated past few minutes. Past few minutes where you learned something. And maybe you even enjoyed me struggling through making this text here more visible or more better readable. So that's it from me. The video is probably going to go out in 3 days, so I can still wish you a happy new year, because it should be the 3rd of January when this video comes out. So have a good start into the new year. Goodbye.